In the beginning was the one presence of the undivided and unmanifest, pure spirit of life, light, and love. In its generosity, it shared itself, its consciousness, and love in the visible form of creation. We acknowledge this presence within us and as us. The creative energy of the divine feminine and masculine expressing in all our giftedness and creativity. We acknowledge this in our companion Mother Earth and all sentient beings. This universal presence in everything we call the Christ. We light this candle as a visible reminder of the Christ presence, expressing in, as, and through us in the present now moment. It is the truth. Let us own it.
Please pull out the words to I Start My Day. Here we go. I start my day with love. When I start my day with love, that's what I get more of, is love. I start my day with love. When I start my day with love, that's what I get more of, is love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, that's what sweet release is, peace. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, I feel the sweet release of peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. Joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release.
Oh, this is going to be a fun day. So I want to welcome anyone here for the first time. If you're here for the first time, if you want to raise your hand, we'll know to make sure. Oh, welcome, welcome. Say hi to you after service. Did you get a welcome packet? Oh, awesome. Perfect. Okay. Oh, Oh, hi. Sorry. Oh, thank you for joining us today. And did you get a welcome packet? Oh, wonderful. By the way, my name is Shari Humes, and I'm your platform assistant this morning. So I welcome all of you, and I welcome those that are joining us online today, wherever you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. Announcements. Deborah wanted me to announce if you're part of the prayer class group, Path of Prayer, and that's with Reverend Deidre. Yes. And anyway, more books have come in. So if you didn't get your book, more books are available. So we're good to go for that. And let's see, I think what I want to say too is that our guest musician today is Cheryl Hodge. So we want to, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful to have you today. And our guest speaker is our wonderful Jim, and he will be with us today. Okay. Next, why don't we take a few moments to greet our neighbors. So what you can do is stand up and wave. If you feel good about handshakes or hugs with people you know, you can do that. But take a moment to greet your neighbor. Okay. So at Unity of Bellingham, we are a joyful, evolving spiritual community committed to spiritual practices. We're compassionate through compassionate service and living on purpose. That is our mission here. Let's see, and we did our announcements. And so let's go on to our 5 principles. So would you please get centered within yourself? And as we prepare to say our 5 principles of unity, take a nice deep breath. And together, God is good and present in all things. The holiness of God is my own true nature. I am creating my experiences by how I think. My thinking is guided by my daily affirmative prayers and affirmative actions. I follow and am sustained by these values in every way, every day, and so it is. Very good. Now, as we prepare for our time of reflection and meditation, please hold the words of the meditation hymn quietly in your heart.
Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep peace, deep peace to you.
I invite you into a time of quiet, peaceful, renewing meditation. Begin to settle your body. Take a few slow, deep breaths in. Take your time. Enjoy the beginning of finding quiet within. As you breathe, you feel your body relax and your mind settle. You're going on a spiritual journey. Breathe in. Imagine you are walking through a beautiful forest. The temperature is just right. The fragrance of the trees, the flowers are soft. You breathe in deep and enjoy. As you continue on, you see a meadow. The sun is nicely warm. And as you walk through the meadow, you discover a blanket or maybe a chair, and you decide to sit down and enjoy. Experiencing the beauty before you feels so wonderful. Here, you are communing with Spirit Divine. All is as it should be. All is well. Nothing to do but feel the ease and love of Spirit Divine. Breathe in. Allow yourself to be loved. As you snuggle into the love of Spirit Divine, you feel the freedom to be, to thrive. Spirit divine whispers, I create through you. Choose what you love. Share that joy with all. That, my dearest, is the fabric of your spiritual journey, to share your light and love with all. In this oasis of love and harmony, you feel a quickening. You have a desire to align with your divine purpose, to live each day in the most purposeful way. Spirit divine knows your thoughts and asks, can you imagine letting all your light shine, allowing the love you are? In this very moment, your life is expanding with brighter light and deeper love. With Spirit divine, all is possible. Breathe in. You feel vitalized and curious of infinite possibilities as you begin to leave the meadow. The forest is alive, responding to your light and love as you journey through and back into this time and space. Breathe in. Feel the glow of love and light within. Let this glow reach out and bless all you adventure with in your life. In this now moment and the next, you are a loving, light-filled expression of Spirit divine. And so it is. Amen.
My father was a genius. He was also mentally ill, by the way, and I don't mean that comically. But when I look back at my father, I think of how he always provided for me. He taught me how to fish. He talked of philosophy whenever we would have our little private fishing trips. He would philosophize to me, and he taught me how to question everything. He encouraged me to explore my values. He taught me debating skills. My father was a remarkable human with deep pain. So for my song, I've chosen Father and Son by Cat Stevens. When you hear the low voice, that's the voice of the Father. When you hear the high voice, that's the voice of the Son. Normally this would be done by men, but you'll just have to use your imaginations. That's right. Close your eyes, maybe, and really imagine. It's not time to make a change. Just relax, take it easy. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you need to know. Find a girl, settle down. If you want, you can marry. Look at me, I am old, but I'm happy. I was once like you are now, and I know it's not easy to be calm when you found something going on. But take your time, think a lot, think of everything you've got, for you may still be here tomorrow, but your dreams may not. How can I try to explain? When I do, he turns away again. It's always been the same old story. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go. It's not time to make a change. Just relax, take it easy. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you need to know. Find a girl, settle down. If you want, you can marry. Look at me, I am old, but I'm happy. All the times that I have cried, keeping all the things I knew inside, it's hard, but it's harder to ignore it. If they were right, I'd agree, but it's them, they know, not me. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go. Away, away, away. It's not time, I know, but I've got to make this decision alone. And I know, and I know, and I know that you've got to go away. I know you've got to go. Thank you.
You got that okay? Good morning. God, I'm recognizing the time, and I'm so sorry. There's somewhere I've got to be. I got to go. I thought I'd try that, see if it worked. Thank you, Cheryl and Shari, very much. So I'm going to give a very unconventional Father's Day talk. I'm not sure what you're expecting, but I'm sure this isn't going to be it. And so when Frank asked me to do this, I thought, oh, Father's Day, that'll be easy. How wonderful, And then I thought about it, and I thought, God, what am I going to say about Father's Day? And it got broader and more complicated. And I really decided to focus in large part about my experiences as being a father and some of the cultural implications that I recognize. They'll be apparent as I talk, I think. And then really to take a broader look at Homo sapiens as a species and how we got here. where we came from, where we're at, and what I think it'll take to move on. So, my first wife in 1983 was hit by a car. It knocked her 30-some feet through the air, broke her back, a complete rupture of medial collateral ligament in her leg, tore the anterior cruciate. She was 3 months pregnant at the time. They took the baby because of the drugs, the x-rays, the full body cast. She was in ICU for 6 days in a circular bed. She spent 23 days in the hospital, months in casts, and it was such a traumatic experience that the loss of the child was just kind of lost in the trauma of the whole experience. I ended up being the cook, the laundry boy, the housekeeper, dealing with lawyers, doctors, insurance companies, things that I'd avoided most of my life. And all of a sudden there I was, having to do this stuff. And that was really the beginning of my domestication, I guess, because I was off chasing birds. I was out in this environment, doing whatever I could to be out there. And I realized that only in retrospect, that was the beginning of me preparing to be a father. It was many years later that my wife became pregnant again. And I was totally stressed during that pregnancy. I was afraid. Just this generalized anxiety of being a parent, of being a father, having the responsibility for someone else, just giving them a name they're going to carry their whole life. My son was named Galen. And so she miscarried that child at 6 months. She was cleaning a friend's house, was working very hard, and she had a venous rupture, and she ended up miscarrying. I came home from work. My neighbor told me what was going on. I drove to the hospital. As I got there, the helicopter was leaving Mount Vernon's hospital to go to Seattle. I almost beat the helicopter to Seattle. They're going, "How could you be here? The helicopter just arrived." And that child lived 16 hours. I lost all of that fear. I was overcome with compassion and love for this being. And when my wife got pregnant several years later, I was excited. I couldn't even remember what I was afraid of. And when my son was 2 hours old and put in my arms, I finally understood unconditional love, just like that. And I had spent a decade sitting at the feet of spiritual teachers, believing I was living and feeling and experiencing unconditional love. And so when you have a family and kids, you are moved in the most incredible ways to go beyond yourself to take care of these beings. There is a sense of, and in that process, there's a sense of this power, the self-confidence that's come because you're moving mountains and doing all these things. And, we tend to think that that's us doing this and it's so empowering. And that's all true, but I also believe there's a biological imperative, that is encoded in our DNA. As a biologist who studied birds, it was really easy for me to see in watching birds the part of pair bonding in which the female doing the nest building, gestating, brooding just slows way down, and the male just starts getting hyper, gets super active, to the point where they're bringing in so much food that the female can't possibly eat it all. And I have friends who have counted as many as 30 dead rodents at the side of an owl nest, where this adult male is just bringing in food because he's just ready to do it. And so I knew all of that, and so I recognized in myself the experience of having that energy arise as my children grew. And even though there's this level of sort of hyperactivity as a parent and as your children are growing, there was still this incredible deep sense of calm and satisfaction in being a parent that I'd never experienced. And once you open those doors, we gain a better understanding of who we are and what we're capable of and what we can do. And you have that sort of zeal to go the extra mile, to go beyond yourself, to do things for others, to live a life of service, because that's what it is to be a parent, to be a father. And Matthew McConaughey, who was born in Uvalde, Texas, went there. And many of you may have seen the White House briefing where he spoke. And he talked to one of the fathers of the slain children, who he described as being uncommonly together. And he said, how can you be like this when this has just happened? Why aren't you just like crazy? And he said, you would be strong for your wife and kids, because if they see you go crazy, it will not help them. That's being a father. So I was told in parenting classes not to bribe my kids, not to threaten them, not to do all kinds of things. I did them all. I had to use every book in the trick. And I found, though, that without a doubt, the most effective parenting tool I had was humor. And but kids are like water, you know. They go into every crack of who you are. It's like in the Borg, you know, resistance is futile. And so I found that humor, though, would take serious things and make them light, release anxiety, and it made really powerful life lessons easy to communicate and understand because you didn't bump into resistance. And, you know, you just don't take things so seriously, but you can be very present and provide insight. And so, you know, there were a lot of great joys in parenting. I remember one time when my daughter's running around the yards. At 3 years old, she knew almost the names of all the plants because I'm helping her learn them. And she was into flowers, and she's got this bouquet of flowers she's gathered from around the yard. Then she comes running up to me, and I think she's going to ask me another plant name. And she comes up and she pulls out my shirt tail and blows her nose on it and wipes her face off and runs off. And so I was just like this human snot rag, you know. And that's being a father. You know, and it's a very long story that I can't go into because it's just too complex, and there's a lot of reasons why this happened. But my wife and I were actually getting along very good in our marriage, very well. And she went to visit a friend in Alaska with my kids when they were 5 and 8, and never came home. And in about 10 months, I realized she wasn't coming home, and this was devastating to me. I had maintained my life, my schedule, everything, and then I just kind of fell apart at that point. And in that period of loss and grief, I understood the single fathers who don't have contact with their kids. It was so painful to call my kids. It was very hard to do. And I realized that what I lost personally was that in giving my kids the things that I didn't get as a child, it healed me. And it made a stronger, richer, deeper family as a result of that. And I also realized that what I wanted to give my kids was the intention with which you live life by. And you can't do that in phone calls, in letters. It doesn't happen. And so they came back to me at 13 and 16 when I married my wonderful wife, Jane. And things that I thought, pains I had that I thought would never heal did. And they were living in a small town in Alaska. They had the run of that town. And then when they came back, they were not the kids I would have raised. I would have had a lot more control and say in their lives. And I realized I could either have a battle of wills or I could be a loving guide. And I chose to be the loving guide. And it's really a very brave form of parenting because you have this tremendous fear for your kids being out there. And when I was a kid, you had to say, oh, I'm going to this place and I'll be there and I'll be home at this time. And nowadays, I'll call you, right? They all have phones, right? And so it isn't the same sense, right? And so my kids were so independent and living their lives so much outside of my control that I just had to kind of let go. And in that process, to really develop a bond and to help them in their lives and understand the world they're dealing with, I really realize as a parent, I think our main objective is to prevent our children from killing themselves. And so in order to try and get through to them, I was absolutely honest, just bare about my life and who I was and how I had lived. And I was born I graduated high school in 1969, here in Bellingham. We were all hippies. I mean, I did it all. I mean, all those things the hippies did, yeah, I did all that stuff, right? And so I told my kids all this. I shared that with them, And consequently, we have, to this day, still an extremely open, honest dialogue. There's nothing that we can't talk about with each other. And I honor and treasure that relationship that was developed because of how I parented them at that time. And this one example comes to me of my son when he's in high school. And he's, just come back and is living with me. And my daughter gives me her report cards, and my son doesn't give me his report card. And so I say, I want to see your report card, son. This goes on for quite a period of time. I'm busy doing things, I go, hey, where's that report card, son, And it's getting to be a month and a half, 2 months. I say, you know what, Ty, if you lost it, that's great. I'm just going to go to the school and get it. Miraculously, there's the report card. So he's failing all his classes. And I said, so what do you think we should do about this? And he has all these really draconian punishments that he thinks that I should do to him, His friends are all being grounded and losing all kinds of privilege. And I said, son, I'm not going to do any of that stuff to you. You are doing more damage to yourself than I can ever do to you. Why would I punish you? I want to help you. I'm trying to help you have a better life. And so I'm not going to do any of that stuff. The only thing I'm going to ask is when you come home and you say you don't have any homework, I don't care whether you have homework or not. I want you to spend 2 hours reviewing your homework, if nothing else. And if you haven't done it before dinner, TV's off, and you do it after dinner. So after about 2 weeks, he wouldn't do it when he came home, so TV's off, right? So after 2 weeks, he comes in, sits down at the table, immediately after school, does his homework, done in 45 minutes. And this goes on for a few days, and I go, wow, son, I'm really impressed. That's fantastic. And he goes, well, Dad, after dinner, it's prime time. And so he went from failing to straight A's in language, science, history, mathematics. All hard classes, straight A student after that. And I was so proud of him. And I realized in this process that if we do parenting right, our children are better people than we are. And it's sort of like in the Zen teachers will tell you that they will teach you everything they can, and then they want you to stand on their shoulders. And that's really what we are trying to do with our children. So now for something very different, much less personal. So we as a species have come out of a long history. And about 300,000 years ago, there were 9 hominid species on the planet. And some of them were in kind of little tucked away places like Indonesia, and we didn't really make contact with them as sapien. But when we came out of Europe and encountered Neanderthals in Europe, they had been there for 400,000 years. And there's another, the Denisovians were up in China, and they were there for quite an extended period of time also. And we are generalists, and they were specialists. And it's a huge thing to grasp and get. And so I'm going to use an example that I'm very familiar with of barred owls and spotted owls, and to help you understand the difference between a generalist and a specialist. So the barred owls and spotted owls historically were one species, and during the last glacial period that came down, it split that population in half. So the barred owls are on the east coast, spotted owls are on the west coast. Spotted owls became specialists. They hunt flying squirrels and bushy-tailed pack rats here in this part of the world. In Oregon, they also hunt the redback tree bull, which has never made it across the Columbia River. And those species, particularly the flying squirrel, feeds almost entirely, 97% of its diet is truffles. So these mushrooms that are down in the ground, right? And so that's why the spotted owl's in the old-growth forest. The old-growth forest has a number of characteristics. One of them is it's a multi-canopy structure that keeps it humid, maintains moisture levels. It has a high volume of deadened down material on the forest floor, and it's at least 175, 250 years, or 250 years old. So all of those things contribute to a lot of truffles. Even under those conditions, flying squirrel populations only bloom enough for the spotted owl to breed as a population every 3 to 5 years. They're what is known as periodic breeders. So the barred owl, as European agricultural techniques and land use changed the environment, they have moved across the continent. The first bird showed up in the early 70s in this part of the world. I actually found the second and third known spotted owl nests up in the North Cat National Park in 1974 when I was doing some stuff up there. And now, that species has not only invaded this area, we had a pair out here a few weeks ago flying around in the woods. They're all the way down into California, and there's literally thousands of pairs of barred owls now in the state of Washington. They eat small birds, up to a grouse, mammals, bats, amphibians. They will go fishing in creeks and catch crawdads. They'll catch crabs on shorelines. They eat anything and everything they can possibly get their hands on. Consequently, they breed most every year. There's a substantial part of the population breeding. They produce lots of young, so they can flood an environment, and which they have done. And because they were historically the same species, back in the late 80s when I was doing some work for the Forest Service, they found the first hybridization between a spotted owl and a barred owl. They call them sparred owls. The barred owl likes a mosaic forest landscape, and so they really don't do well in the really deep old-growth forest. So that's still kind of the habitat for the spotted owls. But the spotted owls used to breed a lot in second-growth stands, and those were really kind of considered to be sinkholes because they couldn't really survive there because there wasn't enough food. Maybe every 11 or 15 years a pair could breed, but not enough to sustain a population. Well, now the barred owls have taken over all those sites, and we're losing the spotted owl. In another 500,000 years, they'll be gone, and it'll all be barred owls that will have taken over the traits of the specialist spotted owl, and they'll be able to live in that old growth environment. They will have figured it out by absorbing the other species. So when we came up into Europe and encountered the Neanderthalensis, they basically were specialists. They lived on basically reindeer, horses, and aurochs, which were kind of a large cow. Our modern cattle come from the aurochs. And they were ambushers. They had lances and they had javelins. And so everything is close contact, dangerous with big animals. And so the animals they're hunting are animals that tend to run away and don't really fight them. And they did kill things like woolly mammoths or woolly rhinos and mammoths, but it's almost all young of those that they killed. They didn't have the wherewithal to be able to kill the adults. It was just too dangerous to get that close. We had spear throwers and addle, so we could launch spears long distance. We had bows and arrows. We also, the Neanderthalensis was kind of stocky. They're ambushers, so they had large nasal capacity, large nose, large lungs, which suggests they're cold weather species. They tended to live below the glaciers and kind of moved up and down with the glaciers. And over that period of time that we came into the environment, as the glacials would retreat and then come back, we would move up and Neanderthals would move down, and we ended up camping and overlapping in the same locations as the population shifted with the glaciers. But we basically could run forever. No animal can outrun us except a dog. So we would run a mammoth down. If it took us 3 days to do it, it took 3 days. We also domesticated wolves and had dogs. This gave us a tremendous advantage because we can hear things coming to camp, and we can follow things that we can't see or detect. And so those two things gave us a tremendous advantage over the Neanderthals. And there was actually a volcanic eruption in that 40,000 year range when we came up out of Europe that actually was in Italy, and it actually eliminated a lot of species, caused the extinction, and probably really impacted and reduced the Neanderthals and made it easy for us to basically swamp them with who we are, and we probably just absorb Neanderthals into our population. And so the difference between the specialist and the generalist is that the generalist is fluid, smart, adaptive, and a survivor. And another bird example that to illustrate this is the starlings. Starling showed up, and first starling was in Washington in 1953, first recorded starling here. And I can remember in August every year here in Bellingham, there's some kind of a beetle hatch or insect hatch, and the Bonaparte gulls, which normally are out in the San Juans, come in and are flying all over around Bellingham. They're kind of a dainty, really distinctly marked, beautiful gull. And I grew up watching the Bonaparte gulls come in August. I looked forward to seeing that. And in 1970, a friend and I were driving along, and there's a couple of starlings up there flying around with the Bonaparte gulls. And they're clumsy and awkward, and it looks inefficient. And we had this whole conversation about how if they kept that up, they're going to die because they're just expending too much energy for the food they're getting. Now, the starlings are vastly outnumbering the Bonaparte gulls, and they have this perfect little hawking flight figured out to catch those insects. If you have robins in a lawn, you know, if one robin moves, the other moves. They all keep this sort of respectful distance with each other. And starlings, they're going, I think I can do that. What's he eating? And they go down and they go, oh yeah, hey, worms. And they cried right up to the starling. The robin will move away because it doesn't like that close proximity. So a lot of people don't like starlings, and I've come to respect them because they're survivors. They're invasive. And of course, we are the most invasive species that's ever existed. We're in every niche on the planet. And even in Antarctica, where we can't possibly survive, we don't have the resources, we're living there. So, and so most primates, monkeys, there's 264 known species of monkeys. Lemurs, there's 100 known species of lemurs. Baboons, there's 6 species of baboons. There's 2 species of gorillas with several subspecies. In each of those species, there's only one hominid. We have outdone all the other hominids. We have that smart, savvy, aggressive, creative, fluid ability to adapt. And we have basically gone everywhere we can go on the planet. There isn't anywhere left to go. We've done it. So the only thing left for us to explore is consciousness. And we have really come out of a dominion over consciousness. We've dominated and controlled everything. And we're in danger of just controlling ourselves right off the planet. And we need to be moving toward the consciousness of stewardship, of caretaker. And it's time to let go of the dominion over. So I went pretty far afield, right? So So I spent a significant part of my life with spiritual teachers who really rejected the concept of dominion over and really taught the we're part of, and helped me recognize that we are in relationship with everything. Our shoes, our clothes, our cars, the air we breathe, everything. Our phones, we're in relationship with all these things. And in order to have good relationships with other things and other people, we have to have good relationships with ourselves. And in order to have good relationships with ourselves, we have to have good relationships with what Jesus would have referred to as his Father. And so then, what is the Father that Jesus was talking about? Who is that? How do we make contact with that Father? And I would contend that that Father is the deep, quiet stillness within us that we have to work and spend time to get to. And that's where the creative thinking, the creative voice, the Father, the Creator is. And that's how we make contact. And people would contend that in the world today, churches are dwindling and people are, less spiritual and all that. I don't think so at all. In 1972, I started doing yoga. There were no yoga classes in Bellingham. There are no yoga magazines. I learned out of books. And it was years, 1979, Ingela Abbott showed up and started teaching, made Yoga Northwest. Now, I don't know how many yoga studios are in Bellingham. I have no idea. How many healing centers, how many Reiki centers, how many meditation centers. People have gone from being churchgoers, which obviously wasn't working for us and becoming stagnant, to becoming spiritual practitioners. And I think that that's very important. Those are the techniques that we can use to get to that wise counselor within us, the Father, who will help us go through the paradigm shift that we need to create in order to continue as the smart, savvy, adaptive, fluid species that we are. We have it within our power. We're a very powerful species. We're the only hominid left standing. And just because we have manipulated our environment in all kinds of ways that are almost like playing with things, and sort of, a friend of mine years ago said that after World War II, they created economy and sold it to us, and we bought it. and it's like we have just inundated ourselves with all kinds of distractions. The washing machine, the refrigerator, the heated home, they're supposed to make our life easier, and it seems like they've made it more frantic. And so there needs to be a shift in consciousness. And I think that we are birthing a new paradigm. And the Father energy protects with a calm vigilance. And the feminine nurturing allows the healthy family, which is a healthy consciousness, to arise. And we can develop good relationships with each other, with the planet, with everything that's on it, so that we are stewards, that we're part of. We're not dominion over, we're not controlling. And so in the end, I would invite you to maintain an irrational sense of humor, to take life seriously, but live it playfully. And may the great mystery guide and protect your pathways and those who you love. Thank you very much.
Could you help me? Sometimes a girl needs a little help. Thank you. All right. My reflection is that it is a beautiful combination. To me, it's evolution. So thank you for those words. It's good words to think of and feelings to hold. Now it's our time for our offering. And so let me find what I need here. And so the ushers are going to come forward. They're already here. But also, there's different ways to give, not only when you're while you're here, which is cash or check, but also text to give. And the number for that is 360-519-5195. So there's that's part of evolution. So anyway, and also at home, the information is on the website as well. So if you're watching online. So if you would please take your offering to your heart and affirm quietly to yourself, I give freely and joyfully, for God is my source, and I have abundance in all areas of my life. Let's say our offertory blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
Since this month's theme is the theme of abundance, I thought it might be fun to share that I always feel if I can invite the light, then the abundance goes to the right source, whether it's me or my friends or the world. Invite the light to come through, and people are shaking their heads. Yes, I get that. So I believe in the light. As a result, I thought about this real hard. I decided that I wanted to do Shambala. How does your light shine in the halls of Shambala? Feel free to sing along if you know this. It's an old song by Three Dog Night. Wash away my troubles, wash away my pain with the rain in Shambala. Wash away my sorrow, wash away my shame with the road in Shambala. Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. Everyone is helpful, everyone is kind on the road to Shambala. Everyone is lucky, everyone is so kind on the road to Shambala. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Here you go now. How does your light shine on the road to Shambala? How does your light shine on the road to Shambala? One more time. How does your light shine in the halls of Shambala? How does your light shine in the halls of Shambala? I can tell my sister by the flowers in her eyes on the road to Shambala. I can tell my brother by the flowers in his eyes on the road to Shambala. Come on now. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Here's the chorus now. Here we go. How does your light shine in the halls of Shambala? How does your light shine in the halls of Shambala? One more time, everybody. How does your light shine in the halls of Shambala? How does your light shine in the halls of Shambala? manifest.
Okay. We bless these givings, these tithes, this abundance that is us, that comes through us, and extends out to the world. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. And so it is. Okay, let's see. Need that a little closer. So we're going to, I think we have another song to sing.
We do after the announcements.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have any more announcements.
No more announcements?
No,
Okay,
I don't.
well, let's all sing then.
Yeah.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. Well, yeah, I've got to use your words, don't I? I better make sure I use the right words. Where's that little thing? There it is. It's hiding from me. God is my source. Okay, here we go, everybody. You want to stand on up? Let's manifest. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love. God is my love. God is my power. God gives me everything. Oh, love is my love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything. Joy. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything. And peace. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. Peace gives me everything I need. Peace gives me everything I need. All right, good job.
Thank you. And it looks like we have pie as a treat for after service. So after we sing our song, I Choose Love, we will join for that. And also, I'd like to do the prayer for protection as we go out into our day, into our week. So we do include everyone, everywhere. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you for being here today. It's been wonderful. Thank you, Jim, for stepping up and providing a wonderful talk. Thank you, Cheryl, for bringing the joy of music. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So let's go ahead and let's stand and rise and sing I Choose Love.
And again, the words are right in your program. Thank you, everybody. Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are all part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace in my family is growing big. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We all are part of each other. We are one loving family, sharing one son. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are all part of each other. We are one. One joy unites us. Let this be the one.